So I wanted to actually do a tasting of some of my favorite beer and whiskey tastings. And what I'm doing in this video is a pairing with a stout. I have an oatmeal stout from my hometown of Ottawa. And I'm going to pair it with whiskey from North Sun Distillery, also in Ottawa. So pretty neat. Stouts pair quite well with single malts, in my opinion, and then also whiskeys that are kind of in the bourbon style, so that are a bit oakier and sweeter, and grainier. So North of Seven works really well because it's really oaky and it's quite grainy. So if we start with the stout, you get the fruitiness from the malt, or sorry, from the yeast, and then you get the kind of the rich stout malt character to it as well. If you then have a bit of whiskey, it's just like it layers on top, and so you get all of a sudden the kind of the dark stout characters, sort of the coffee, and the real roasted kind of interplaying quite nicely with the whiskey, which adds a bit of sweetness to cut through the stout. But then it's almost like you're layering grain and oak onto your stout, and it works really, really nice. And so now the finish, I have a whiskey finish, but the stout is actually integrated into the finish, and it's better. It actually makes it a bit richer. And if I keep going back, now all of a sudden, the whiskey has brought out parts of the stout that I wasn't as aware of earlier, and particularly it's a contrast of grain. And so this is an oatmeal stout. The grain character in the oatmeal stout is just really brightened up and brought out to a new level when compared to the whiskey. Yeah, and it just it keeps going. So that's a pairing that I would recommend. And you grab a bourbon too. We don't have to be all about Canadian whiskey too, but stouts actually, they tend to pair. They're one of the beer styles that pair well with a pretty wide range of whiskeys. So they're worth trying. So that's all for now. I'll jump into some others, beer and whiskey pairings, in the next little while.